Alright, so today we're going to be talking about dividing monomials. Last week we talked about adding and subtracting, multiplying, and then an exponent to another exponent. Okay, but today is dividing. Okay, so let's see what we have to do, because there was a trick that we had to do for multiplying and power to power. So instead of having to expand the whole thing out, having to write it all out. So let's see what the trick is for dividing. Okay, so I know x to the power of 5 means x times x times x times x times x, right? And x cubed means x times x times x. What is x divided by x? 1, right? So if x divided by x is 1, that means this is 1. This is also 1, and this is 1, right? I can cancel out or simplify to 1 x over x. So x cubed divided by x cubed is 1. And I am left with x squared. So 5 and 3, what do I have to do to get to 2? Subtract, right? So I have to do 5 minus 3, and that would give me 2. So the quotient rule is when you have x raised to the a divided by x raised to the b, that's going to equal x to the a minus b. The numerator exponent divided minus the denominator exponent. Say it again. Yeah, it has to be the same base, right? Just like last week, it has to be the same base. So k to the 12 divided by k squared, what would that equal? K raised to the 10th power, right? 12 minus 2 is 10. So m cubed divided by m cubed. What did we say that x divided by x was? 1, right? X divided by x is 1. What's 2 divided by 2? 1. What's 3 divided by 3? So when something is divided by itself, then it equals 1, right? So m cubed, these two are the same. So when it's the same thing divided by itself, that means this is going to equal 1. Right? So when you have the same on the top and on the bottom, the numerator and the denominator, then it equals 1. And so some of you were probably doing, okay, m to the 3 minus 3, so m to the 0, right? M to the 0 means 1, okay? So anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So 2 raised to the 0 is 1, 3 raised to the 0 is 1, 4 raised to the 0 is 1, and etc. Okay? Anything raised to the 0 power is always going to be 1. Okay? Any questions so far? Okay, let's look at number 4. So number 4, remember, you have to do the same base. So I have a and b, right? So my a is going to be raised to the 6 minus 2, and my b is going to be raised to the 4 minus 3. 6 minus 2 is what? 4. 4 minus 3. Do I have to write the 1 in the exponent? No, right? So my answer would be a to the 4 times b. Okay, yep, that's it. That's all you would have to do. Okay, so try number 5. Try number 5 out. Okay, so for number 5, I have p, and then 7 on the top, 4 on the bottom, so it would be 7 minus 4. And then q raised to the 16 minus 12, right? So 7 minus 4 is 3, and 16 minus 12 is 4. So you should get p raised to the 3rd power, q raised to the 4th power. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions? Make sure you don't mix up the bases, right? The p's go with the p's, q's goes with the q's, x's, y's, and z's. Okay? Now look at number 7. Now we have coefficients. Okay, so when we multiplied the coefficients. Now, when we're dividing, you actually divide 6 by 2. So 6 divided by 2 would be what? 3. And then I'm left with x to the 4 minus 3. So 4 minus 3 is 1, so you would be left with 3x. Okay, so try number 8. Try number 8 out. Alright, so number 8, we have 14 divided by 7, which is what? 2, right? And then r raised to the 2 minus 1, right? This is 1 down here. And s raised to the 2 minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1, so this would be 2rs. 2rs would be your answer. Okay, number 9, the same thing, right? Negative 36 divided by 4 would be what? Negative what? Negative 9. So negative 9, and then c 2 minus 2, and d 5 minus 3. Okay, so then I have negative 9. 2 minus 2 is what? 0. What's c raised to the 0 power? 1, right? So I don't have to write it. And then d 5 minus 3, so that's 2. So d squared. So negative 9d squared. Okay. Any questions about this? Make sense? Yeah, it's just like the other one. Alright, let's go to the back. So the back, now we have negative exponents. Okay? So x to the negative 5. Okay, so when you have a negative exponent, what you have to do is put it on the denominator. Okay? So here I have x raised to the negative 5. Basically, to get rid of the negative, it's still gonna be x to the 5, but instead of it being on the numerator like this, right, because everything is technically divided by 1, we just don't write it, we're gonna flip it. It's now gonna be 1 divided by x raised to the 5th power. Okay, you keep the 5, but to get rid of the negative, you put it on the bottom. Does that make sense? So my rule is when x is raised to the negative a, it's 1 divided by x to the positive a. So what do you think 2 is going to be? Okay, so that's where people get confused, right? This is 3 times m to the negative 2, right? Because it's not in parentheses. So this really becomes 3 divided by m squared. Okay, because if it was this, if it was 3m raised to the negative 2, that's when you would do 1 divided by 3m squared. Okay? But since this is not in parentheses, this is 3 times m to the negative 2. Does that make sense? Right? This over here is 1 times x to the negative 5. Right. So this is, well, yeah, because it's multiplying. This is multiplying each other. Okay? So be careful with that. So just like 2, 3 is also a little tricky. So 3 is negative 7 times a to the negative 4 times b to the 3rd power. What do you think 3 is going to end up being? What's going to stay on top? The negative 7 and what else? The negative 7 and what else? The a has a negative exponent. The b is still positive, right? Since the b is still positive, that also stays on top. Okay? And the negative 4, to turn it positive, you put it in the denominator. were both negative, then they would both go on the bottom. That makes sense? Okay. So yeah, because think of it like this, right? If I had, on the other page we had dividing, right? This is an example. If I had x squared divided by x to the 4th power, right? If we did the one on the back, it would be 2 minus 4, right? And 2 minus 4 is what? X to the negative 2. But this is improper. You cannot leave a negative exponent on your answer choices. Okay? So if you think about it, if I expand this out, x times x, right? And then x times x times x times x, right? I have to cancel out x divided by x, right? So this cancels out and this cancels out. So I'm left with 2 x's on the bottom. Does that make sense? So this is 1 over x squared. That's why a negative means it goes on the bottom. Does that make sense? Right? Because here I'm left with 2 x's, x squared. And that goes in the bottom. So 2 minus 4 would be negative 2. These two are the exact same thing. X to the negative 2 and 1 over x squared, they're the same thing. The only difference is this, I used the actual rule. Here I expanded it out. Okay? So negative means you put it on the denominator. So I'm going to do number 4 with you. Try number 4 out. Try number 4. So from Thursday, we multiplied. What did we do with the exponents when we multiplied? You added them, right? So you have to add the exponents here because it's w to the 7th times w to the negative 9. Yeah, on the paper it's negative. It's kind of hard to see. So it's w to the 7 plus negative 9, right? So this equals 7 plus negative 9 is what? What's 7 plus negative 9? Negative 2, right? W to the negative 2. But I cannot leave a negative in the exponent. I have to fix that. How do I fix that? So how do I do that? What is the answer going to be? W squared, right? So in order to get rid of the negative, you keep the squared, you just put it on the bottom of the fraction. Does that make sense? Any questions? You need me to do another one? 5? Okay. So one more. 5. So we're multiplying across, right? So 4 times 5 would be what? 20. Then C, I have 8 plus negative 5. What's 8 plus negative 5? C to the 3rd power. And then D, negative 3 plus negative 1. What's negative 3 plus negative 1? Positive 4 or negative 4? Negative 3 plus negative 1? Negative 4, right? When they're the same sign, you add them together and you keep the sign. So 3 plus 1 is 4. And they're both negative, so it's negative 4. Can I leave this like this? No, what do you have to do?
1. Oh, yeah, 1.
Cubed. So it should be like this, right? Because the 20 and the c to the 3rd power, these are still positive, right?
So
they stay on the top.
how do the positives stay on top?
The positives stay on the top, exactly. Only the negatives are the ones that go on the bottom. So that's why the d to the 4th goes to the bottom, okay? Any questions? All right. So I have an assignment for you to do on Schoology. So you were supposed to do 4 through 15, but I already did 4 and 5 with you. Okay? So all you have to focus on is doing 6 through 15. So if you go to Schoology and you go to the assignments folder, it's the only assignments that is there. Okay? and it's a matching one, so you have to match the questions with the answers. Okay, any questions? Okay, go ahead and work on that.